So revamping the core, transforming system for amplified revenue growth. So I don't know whether it's always for amplified revenue growth, but at least sometimes it's very important to look at the core and see whether it's still working. I think it's pretty interesting in terms of the difference between the session before where we were talking about innovation. One of the venture capitalists there was saying maybe insurance doesn't need to innovate, but at least insurance, if they don't need to innovate, they need at least to address the core. And this is always a topic that is on top of the CIO agenda. My name is Nicolas Michelot. I'm part of Celent. Celent is a research firm focused on IT for financial services, including insurance. We are part of the Oliver Wyman Group. Personally, I'm based in Switzerland, and I think we have a pretty international panel here, if I understand well, with Jeff coming from North America and then other people from Asia. But the first thing I'll ask is for each of the panel members to introduce themselves. Maybe we'll start with Pakti, and also explain what their company, their future company maybe, will be doing for insurance companies. We have one person from insurance, so I think it's good to have this good mix between technology providers and insurance. But let's start with a short intro, and then we'll get into the core stuff.
Hi, thank you. My name is Bhakti Dama. I'm the founder of Protector IQ. About 20 years in with top private insurers as underwriter, and now I have jumped to do Protector IQ, which basically combines insurance solutions, innovation in insurance solutions and technology together. So that's what we are talking about, transforming the core. Thank you for hearing. Thank you for being here. Looking forward to our discussion. Thank you.
Great. Hello, everybody. Jeff Heine, Chief Revenue Officer with Novodea. Hate to say it, but nearing 30 years in the business, part practitioner, part end solution provider. Novodea is more focused on the insurance distribution lifecycle, so thinking of agents and brokers deploying capacity via MGAs and help modernizing that and grow the business. And I hate to say it, but also a couple hundred plus implementations. So when we get to the lessons learned, to be happy to share those.
Yeah, hi, happy to be here. This is Somansh. I manage Sapiens APAC business. Sapiens, just to give you an overview, we are a $500 million company focusing on core insurance platforms for both life as well as general insurance companies. We are heavily invested in Asia market. Though we are a global company in Southeast Asia, we are working with many insurance companies. I'm looking forward to this great discussion with the industry stalwarts here. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, this is Nandini. I am the COO for Zurich Insurance, Singapore. Zurich Insurance is obviously a large global insurance company. In Singapore, however, we are primarily focusing on commercial insurance. It's a big topic for us, core system. It has always been. I think it always will be. And yeah, looking forward to discussing further.
Okay, let's talk about this very important topic again. This is something we talk every year with our CIO clients. And the first question, maybe it's just to understand, especially from the divergence in terms of your point of view, because insurance companies see these type of projects, big transformation, replacement, modernization of core systems in a different way than how, for instance, technology providers can help them. So if you have to look at your role, maybe you will start with a technology provider. How do you see it essential for insurance companies to address this topic and to be a strong partner in this kind of project?
So primarily, I believe that if the technology company is able to provide tech plus product solution which enables revenue for insurance company along with transforming the core system, I think that will be an immediate starter for any insurance company, because they would look at technology as a business enabler, and that's where everything starts from. So if insurance solution plus technology can be brought in, I think that's an immediate start point.
Jeff, what's your view on this? Because maybe you've strong experience in these kind of things. Maybe can you use some of the anecdotes or some of the good or bad examples that will show here all the people, what's been your role and how you've helped your clients?
Yeah, happy to. And of course, core is very much about technology. But my career in how we orient ourselves in the market is much more around what does the business need to do? Start with your customers and the business in mind and design maybe a couple years out of what you want to be. And my view on this tends to be, let's not try to make an incremental process that might have been paper-based way back when a little bit better. Start to think about your growth plans, start to think about the people and customers, not implying that you don't, but build that into the frameworks of what you want to do. So when you get, core takes a while, right? It takes a bit. By the time you get there, it's actually helping push your business forward. And, you know, to us, it's much more about our customers. If I look at, say, Howden, who's deploying across Southeast Asia in several countries, it's with that viewpoint in mind. How do we get data across our business to grow it? And then they drive their processes and what they do in their engagement with customers from that.
Okay, so it means that for you, it's key to discuss mainly to the business people in order to understand their issue and then see how the technology can enable or at least manage this.
Yeah, and I don't mean pushy, but push like, okay, and then what's next? What businesses do you want to be in? What businesses do you want to exit? You're going to deploy more capacity. How do you do that? More and more of our conversations, because we're so distribution focused, including on the carrier side that have the MGAs, is how do you actually help us grow? How do you make us absorb this capacity and grow, and not at the same cost basis? And so we tend to look a couple years out and be very strategic in that, and then look incrementally where you can draw value from that. And that's part of the lessons learned is if you, some of these processes have to exist, but if it's just a lift on that, it really doesn't drive the business forward. So really having those conversations up front and throughout is key.
Yeah. And Somansh, yes. Sapiens is a very large player. On the very core back office side, you have so many clients and so many core systems. So what's your view, especially maybe if you can expand a bit on the business case, because this is not easy for insurance companies to make the decision to go and, for instance, replace an obsolete system. And defining a strong business case sometimes is difficult, and I'm sure that you are helping insurance companies deal with this.
Sure. I'll share a quick anecdote. We actually, some people are aware, we do this annual event every year where we invite our customers. So last year we did it in Spain, and we invited all our customers from US, Asia, and Europe. And we got these CXOs in one room, and we asked them, can you pen down your key reasons for initiating a core platform transformation project? And the two themes that stood out were revenue growth and cost efficiency. Then we asked them if you have to pick one, which one would it be? And it was operational efficiency, that is cost reduction. So that was one of the themes that was playing out last year. But from Southeast Asia perspective, let me share with you, I was meeting one of the chairman of Vietnamese insurance company, and he asked me, Somansh, can you tell me why all of these core transformation projects fail in Southeast Asia? There has not been a single success story in Vietnam, right? And what are the reasons, right? Of course, we all know the answers. It's not just because of vendor, but also sometimes not properly having a good approach of core transformation. Right, so the business use case needs to be very clear. One of our customers told us that business use case for them is they're not able to launch products faster to the markets. They don't have API platform. It takes them months to come up with a product and the related APIs. And this is where Sapiens steps in, share with them how they can easily configure the products, become self-sufficient with minimal dependency on the vendor. And that helps us to position our solution. And this is what we are seeing is playing out in this market.
Okay, thank you. Nandini, on the insurance side, so I assume that expectations are pretty high because when we are talking about these type of projects, these are very risky projects. These are very, very often expensive projects, a lot of effort. Very often also it implies change management internally in order to making this a success. So what is your role in this kind of thinking, and also what would you expect from those guys here if you had to go for this kind of project now?
So I think this is a topic very close to every large insurer's heart, and we've all inherited legacy systems, and it's really incredibly difficult to start thinking about changing them for many reasons. And we spoke about customers, the employee experience, right? That's so huge, and it's got so much to do with core systems. And that's half the reason we keep going back to this topic, because the employees are constantly struggling, and it's a challenge to work with these legacy systems. So when we think about, okay, we want to change this, right? What do we want to change? And what is that ideal system, and does it exist? And what are those functionalities we really, so we've given this a very hard look at Zurich, and I think different parts of Zurich, I'm talking about Singapore, but I'm pretty sure the same story holds for many other Zurich entities and our peers across the globe, really. So if you really get down to what do we need versus what does our current system give us, it's very interesting, because actually a lot of what we think the core system should give us is probably never meant to be that core system's job in the first place. But for many, many years, we keep sort of making the core system do things it's not meant to do. It's supposed to be a financial system. We want it to manage claims, and then it doesn't do it properly, and then we blame it, and we want to fix it. And so I think that's one, really identifying and completely realizing what the core system is meant to do, and being very clear about it. And the other thing which we have done over the years is really invested in working with this core system, right? So there's a fair bit of things we've developed around the core system already, like a data warehouse, because the core system doesn't usually have great reporting capabilities. So we'll want to bring this data warehouse, and it works. It works to an extent. We're living with it pretty well. The engine runs, right? So to develop that business case of when am I ready to switch, and what is it going to, the change management piece is super critical. And so it takes a lot. We are seeing the conversation happening, and everyone knows one thing: this cannot be forever. It's a matter of when and not if, really. But it's a huge, huge decision, and there are multiple elements to consider, really.
Thank you. I understand this is a tough decision anyway. I'd like to spend some time on the different approaches when you have to deal with this kind of project. And I have to say, over the past 20 years, it's been more difficult for insurance companies to identify the mix of technologies, the mix of potential partners, the efforts in relation to the different third parties involved, in order to go and tackle this kind of projects. And this is a great place to discuss about that, because it's plenty of insurtech players here, or technology providers, and also we know that insurance companies are still leveraging internal development with sometimes big batteries of internal developers, especially focusing on some aspects, the front end, for instance, in order to localize, customize, etc. So if you were to start now a big project consisting in decommissioning an existing system, replacing, you will go through certainly an initial gap analysis in terms of the capabilities needed, etc., and see what you can keep, what you cannot keep, what you would prefer develop, what you would prefer maybe partnering with a core system, and or a core system with already a good ecosystem in place with some startups and insurtech. So how would you make this decision right now, Nandini? Are there plans already for a company like yours to think about this, or is it more open and frankly you don't really know at this stage?
So I wouldn't say there are plans, but I think this topic has been alive for the last 15 years or so, I don't know. It's always on the table. And I guess there are three options really, right? One, we keep going how we are. We kick the can down the road. Someone else will pick it up one day. That also has a running cost. It has, like I said, it has an employee experience cost. It has a dollar cost. We are paying vendors to maintain the system, enhance the system. It has a business risk associated with it, because there are reconciliation issues and there are things that pop up and you have to deal with it. So it's not the as-is option also comes with cost, right? The second option, which we keep thinking about, is can we really rewrite this current system in a way that it starts to work for us, right? And we keep thinking about what that should look like. And there is a whole list of tickets my team would be sitting on. If these were the 25 things we could fix, my core system will work for me, right? But of course, those 25 things will take like 5 years to sort of run through. So, and there is additional cost. There is a project management cost around these things, and it sucks up a lot of time from the business, from the people who are raising those tickets. They have to sit down and sort of really tell us what they want and all of that. There is a huge execution risk around that. These projects inevitably get delayed, so not easy, right? So that second option of fix what I have and make it work for me, as much as it sounds like something you want to keep trying, but again, not easy. And then, of course, there is sort of the replace option. And this is, again, not easy, because also with a lot of the large companies, we have so many systems around our core system. And it's very tricky to start even thinking about how those interfaces work and how, if I change the core system, what happens to all those 25 other systems. I have a pricing tool, I have a CRM tool, I have a risk assessment tool. So it's complicated, and having that clear view on that future architecture, target architecture, what that should look like and what system fits that is another sort of critical, consideration. So I would say there is, and then not to forget, we are a regional company, a global company. We've got guidelines from the group on what good should look like. We want to be aligned. We don't want different directions for each country. So there is that whole piece which also slows you down to some extent, because you want to make sure you're not doing something radically different from the rest of the group. So that being part of that big organization has also to be considered, yeah.
Yeah, in summary, everything is complex. I agree. At different layers of the decisions, this is a tough topic, and I think this is why also it's a very interesting topic, because it's not about necessarily innovation like it's been discussed before in the panel about marketing, about trying to have people gather together internally in order to find new motivations. Here we are really talking about hard dollar. We are talking about political risks. You haven't mentioned political risk also. And we are talking about making the business continue and generate the value along the value chain. So this is a very important topic. Maybe not sexy for everybody, but it's an interesting one. Somansh, Jeff, and Bhakti, on your side, I've mentioned before the ecosystem topic. I think this is the very important topic right now, especially when we discuss with a community of startups, insurtech players, etc. And we are seeing also with the modern architecture, microservices-oriented, API-oriented, that more and more insurance companies want to be able to get this flexibility to integrate pretty quickly with any kind of potential partner they want to add to the value chain, because many of them do a better job than insurance companies. So what's been your philosophy in your company, Somansh, in order to be sure you are able to help insurance companies? And then I will also ask the same question to Jeff and Bhakti.
Yeah, first of all, I think some of you may be aware that Sapiens is an Israeli company, right? We have, though we are a global company, but we have very strong connections with Israeli insurtech ecosystem. So we have partnered with many companies which are part of Israeli insurtech. Also, we pick companies which are quite innovative in their space. For example, I can name some of them. We are partnering with Swiss Re for property insurance and catastrophic loss. We partnered with AI Solution, one of our partners here, Revin AI, for motor and underwriting and claims. Similarly, we partnered with Quantave, which is into AI health claims. So we have built this partner ecosystem, and we have built integration at core layer level with these partners. Similarly, when customers who want to externalize their rating engine, so we have a rating engine inside our platform, but some insurers would like to externalize it. So we have partnered with Earnix, which is another top-notch rating engine solution provider.
So just when you say partner, can you elaborate a bit? Because if I understand well, when you say partner, it means that we have tested
Yes.
integration with those,
Yes.
which is more or less a plug and play.
It's a plug and play deployment, and we already have these instances in production. So we are already working with them, with other clients, for example, in Europe or APAC. And also apart from that, what we do, we go to local markets. For example, in Thailand, you will come across EMCS, e-tax, OIC. So all these integrations are pre-built. And this is what we call country layer. So Sapiens makes huge investments into building country layer. So we have a country layer for Singapore, for Vietnam, for Thailand, for Hong Kong. And this investment is purely from Sapiens side. And all these integrations are available as part of the core, right? So our customers do not need to pay for these integrations or for their maintenance, and they get it out of the box. So we are now in a position to deploy the core system much faster than what we used to do before because of the integrations that are already existing on our core platform.
Thank you. And Jeff, you run on the Salesforce technology, right? So
Correct.
can you explain to us more about the partnership on your side?
Yeah, I very much agree with Sumanch's point where you rely on the vendors to actually provide an ecosystem that solves some of those specific problems. And if those of you that are familiar with the Salesforce ecosystem, there's quite a bit from the App Store that you can basically do a plug and play within the applications, part of the advantage of the platform. We also have a very similar philosophy of looking at the business problems and making sure we have options to solve the problem. And I just want to pick up what Nandini said about remember what core is and is not. And that's part of what we tend to see is make sure that you bring the best of breed partners and think about that. The other part I would say is think about core as less rip and replace and big 5-10 year scary and more like a software as a service release cycle so you can leverage those partners and plug into the actual application. And so it becomes less big and scary and you deliver business to or value to the business much faster. That's the way I would think about approaching it. Most of our customers do.
Okay. What about you, Bhakti, in terms of the ecosystem? Have you already thought about this? Are you looking for partnership on your side?
So a lot of this ecosystem approach works well in India. We have a lot of health tech providers who, come with various services around wellnesses, around health checkup, around care management, which has now become part of the overall journey of the customer within the insurance company. So the entire data gets collected and then finally in the end sits at the insurer's core system. A lot of this is also coming up in cyber space where, it starts with risk assessment and ends with continuous monitoring so that claims control and loss ratios can be, kept in control. So, we are looking at, partnerships around vulnerability assessments, VAPTs, and stuff like that. And insurers are also pretty receptive around insurtechs which come with whole product proposition along with the entire partnership, APIs and entire cloud infrastructure in place, which can be readily plugged and played with their core system as well. So yeah, this is one of the areas that we are focusing on.
Okay. I'd like to take some minutes in order to get your recommendations when it comes to this type of projects. From your point of view, your experience, what are the main lessons learned and what would you advise, especially an insurance company, to really do well when embarking in this kind of project? I will start with you, Bhakti.
So given my 20 years with various insurance companies themselves, I think, some of the points that Nandini made, that it's a never-ending topic. And I think a good place to start with is to break it down in various areas that you want to transform. So I have seen a lot of use cases where agency platforms have been transformed, the sales channels have been transformed, so that whatever data entry happens or the proposal punching happens, it happens from their side, it directly goes and sits in their core processing system, and it's completely digitalized. Similarly, I see a lot of space in commercial risk assessment area, both in, take example of property or cyber. There is a lot of space there where it can start with risk assessment and complete end-to-end journey. So bit by bit, companies can go on fixing it, and some of the back-end systems like agency, commission management, or reinsurance, etc., can be then, along the way can be digitized. So, yeah.
So you've already provided some clue about what needs to be addressed. So you said business problems to solve, right? But if you have, I would say, another advice to give to anybody in the insurance sector, what would it be?
Yeah, I know we're limited on time. I brought my iPad with the list, but I'll stick to two. One of which is a lot of what ends up happening is folks start with the back office in mind. And I would say flip it and start thinking about the customer, designing with that journey. The more and more successful companies in terms of creating stickiness with their clients, whether it's commercial, whether it's retail, have involved customers and perhaps prospective customers about what they want out of that journey. And so that tends to give you a lot more of an impact right up front. And I would also say when you start to think about that, the number one question I've been asked is nothing to do with our platform. This conference, it's about change management. And what's interesting is one of the reasons why folks quote unquote fail at this is the lack of involvement of the users. Bring them involved very, very early on, create user champions, and actually I'll just say, understand why they're using their spreadsheets and then adapt for that so you can get some of that buy-in very early on. Because in the end, to spend that amount of money and to get that buy-in without the customers and without your actual end users in mind, that's why there's so many issues in that.
So, but I agree that especially change management is very important, but also I would say project management in a sense that I've never seen such a project fail because of technology, right? It's always about people, communication, the way the project is managed.
Priorities, organizational priority is a big point why these projects fail.
Yep. I agree. Somansh, what's your advice from a pure back office core insurance system vendor?
I think it is mixture of all the points that were just mentioned, right? Adopt versus adapt approach. This is what we start with, that there should be less customization, keep it to minimum. Second is, of course, having a dedicated core team. So priority comes into picture, right? That you need to have I know users are very busy, they need to do their BAU work. They also need to maintain the system, they need to issue policies, but then they also have to support this new project, right? And that's where we request for a dedicated team who can sign off on all the requirements. And third one, look for a vendor who has experience in implementing projects in that market, right? Who has a good credibility, because then you are depending on that partner and he's not starting from scratch and asking you what's your requirement, but rather than showing you this is how the system should be developed or deployed.
Nandini, on your side, what would be the main recommendation to your peers, insurance companies?
Well, I've got a lot of recommendations to bring back now.
You have a new one, otherwise I can add mine.
Yeah, no, look, I think it's, it's forums like this, it really does, spark the light and makes me think about what are those different options available and how do we navigate through all of these options. I think one of the big issues, not issues, but a challenge I would say is that there is a lot of options out there and it's not easy to get to quickly, which one might really, and it'll take a lot of time and effort to get to the right solution which aligns, which is a big part of my job, yeah.
On my side, maybe one additional recommendation I would give, based on my experience working with insurance companies, trying to modernize or decommission an old system, take your time. Take your time. It's very often that you put yourself in constraints about time while you have been running systems for 40 years, 6 months more. What's the difference, by the way? So, but it's pretty interesting to see the internal politics that makes sometimes agenda very, very ambitious and can make a project going very pear-shaped. So I think this is very important to take the time. Thank you, and I wish you a good end of your day.